Please stand by for our broadcast from the National Emergency Warning System.
G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to look at the data mined information on the upcoming patch, Raining Fire. And today the information that I'm going to be looking through has been listed by AHSOKA Tano. Sorry if I've mispronounced your name incorrectly. This is his image here. So we've got 3 pages here. There's a lot of information, so I'm going to just glance over a lot of it. So you'll be able to stop and pause and have a look at this in more detail yourself if it's of interest to you. So it starts off with the Jaguar GR Mark 1. UK, it's going to be a tier 6. Looks like it's going to be 10.0 to 9.7. It's coming in after the Swifts in the naval line. It's got 230mm Aiden Mark IV with 150 rounds per gun, 8 bombs, 1,000 pounds each, 2 AIM-9B Sidewinders. This one here, I've been hearing that this is not actually historically correct loadout. I don't personally know. This may not be correct, as anything is here. This may not be what sees the server. Things are constantly changing, so always remember that. 76 RA-79 rockets. America are getting the new Tier 3 Razorback P-47, as will be the British as a premium. The American one's in the main tree, Tier 3, battle rating 3.7 or 4.3 depending on the game mode. Listed here twice, I'm not sure why. Maybe they're getting a premium bundle premium event. There you go. B-17BS for Sweden, Tier 1. YP-38 premium for the American line. This is replacing the current XP-38G in that tree. And I believe I heard something about it maybe being in a bundle or replacing a previous vehicle in that package for future. Germany's getting a new TAM-2C, which has the Israeli tech in it, the night vision radar warning system, a laser warning system, sorry. And IL-28 for Germany, coming in after the Irados, it'll be 8.0. T-72B1989, battle rating 6, 9.7. And that comes folded, so you don't actually have to unlock this one. I imagine a lot of people are going to go straight to this bad boy, T-72B 2011 variant, Tier 7, 10.7 after the T-72B. So technically this you can ignore this one and go to this one here. And then I imagine once this one's unlocked, people will probably go back and unlock this one here. This one here is mostly, I believe, the upper front hull has been replaced with Connect 5, a turret ERA possibly as well. But you're looking at the same tank that's already in game here with improved protection. And this one has a little bit more variation in it here. A T-3485 Aziz S-53. This is the race version for the USSR. A new Su-7 BKL for Russia. It's mostly the same aircraft, but due to some changes in the undercarriage, it can now carry a little bit more of the smaller ordnance. Actually, it's a lot more. It's double the ordnance basically. So that's going to be an interesting addition to see what difference it makes. It may just be a little bit better at ground attack in ground support roles. Su-6 for USSR, battle rating 4, 4.7. Russia are getting SKR P50 Tier 2. The UK are getting the Peacock Corvette I don't understand the point of this. It's going to be a tier 2, battle rating 3.3, but it's going to cost 100 and I think it's 120,000 RP. Now I can get a British destroyer, and I have to guess the numbers here because I've unlocked it. But I think the first 2 British destroyers, which completely stomped this thing, it's not even a competition, not even close to a competition. It's something like 60,000 RP. A higher tier, so tier 3. Tier 3 and a lot more guns, a lot more firepower, more armor. This thing quite literally only has the gun off the automatic on it. That's it. I don't think there's any AA or anything else on it at all. Yet it's twice the price. I just don't understand it. Okay. The Chiha LG, the long gun. This will be a tier 1, 1.7. Again, another vehicle I don't understand the point of. I think Japan, well, I know Japan would have been a lot better off with something else. Something that genuinely helped them. Because tier 1, you're there for 2 seconds and then you move on. Anyway, Chidori, tier 2, 2.7 after the Ikazuki. That's a ship. Akabano, that's the tier 2, 3.3. And that's a Gold Eagle Premium. CM25 Chinese tier 6 8.3 after the M11 3A1. This one I'm drawing a blank on. I can't remember what vehicle this is. Q5 China, the tier 6 10.0 to 10.3. It's interesting that it's higher in sim. Most of the other ones have been lower in sim. After the F-84G, this actually looks like a really nice aircraft, and this will actually get me to grind out the Chinese tree. The only tree I haven't touched. Class 500-3, 1944, Italy, a tier 1 reserve. Okay. Commendati Medagli Doro, Italy, tier 3, 4.3 after the Soldati. Italy are getting a Zara, tier 5, 5.7 after the Trento. The French are getting the Samoa SM, tier 4, 7.3. In the state it was on the dev server, I have to assume that it was incorrect because it's a dev server. I'm fairly sure the dev blog they released said 150mm of upper hump plate. The dev server had the stat card showing 140, and it showed the actual armor plate at 90. So I'm not sure what they're doing with that tank, or what it's going to look like when it comes out. But in any situation at 150mm even, I think 7.3 is a bad BR. It doesn't have a purpose. With that turret armor, which is completely lacking, I don't know what it's going to contribute to the grind. The hull armor's good, but as long as it gets 150mm. But I just don't know. I really don't get it. STRV 104 for Sweden. It's a tier 6, 8.7 after the STRV 103C. Then we get the French Jaguar A. It gets 230mm DEFA 553s with 150 RPG rounds per gun. Now, this is also already seen in the game, this ammunition type, so it's not something new. It doesn't get the same bomb load or weapon loadouts as the British. It gets a little bit more variety, but depending on how effective they are, I'm not sure which is going to be better out of the two. I think they'll both be worth unlocking. It gets 5 250kg Type 25 bombs, 5 400s Type 21, 2 Matra R550 Magic, 1 AHS, 2 AS30 Nord ASMs, and 72 SNEB Type 23s, 144 SNEB Type 23s. I don't know what combination these are going to be loaded in, but compared to the British one, just to give some comparison, the British one carries 8 1,000 pounds. 250 kilos roughly translates to 500 pounds to give you comparison. So that's 500-pound bombs compared to 8 1,000-pound bombs. So potentially maybe these two stack together and you actually end up with something like a comparable bomb load, or maybe you don't. I just don't know. These are I believe these are the 30G missiles that are currently on the Mirage in the French line. And they're arguably the best missiles in the game, at least shared alongside the MiG-21 right now. These are the French bullpups, basically, surface-to-air missiles, or air-to-surface missiles, sorry, and the SNEB rockets, which we've seen on most loadouts and high tier. Type 74F JP. Now, from what I've been hearing, this thing here is actually a change. They're replacing one of the Type 74s in the tree. I'm unclear whether it's the premium one or whether it's the one in the tree, but it's getting some additional armor plates and stuff on it. So that'll be interesting to see exactly how that one works out and where it turns up. I don't have that premium, but it's something I have looked at a few times, so we'll see. Focke-Wulf 190 cannon tutorial. I don't know what that is. I mean, it says it's a tutorial on the cannons. We'll see what that actually really means. And a Spitfire tutorial. New tech tree line in the US. So a whole bunch of aircraft. I'm not going to go through each individual one, but as you can see here, a lot of aircraft. There's been a shift. All the P's have been put into one line. The fighters have been put into one line. Like, merged together. And they've just done a big shift around in those first two lines in the American lineup. So worth having a look at if you can get a screenshot of that. PBJs are now in a folder. P61C-1 is after them. So that's a lot of aircraft that have been reduced down to only needing to unlock one. ME163 group is moved to after the 262s. Their RP and silver line cost has been increased while the 262s has been lowered. I think this is probably due to the speed. They've always had issues balancing the ME163s ever since the closed beta days. They removed the fuel. They added the fuel consumption on it and all that sort of thing to balance it. At one point, it was just 3 minutes long, I think it was, and then it was moved back to 4 minutes of fuel. They've done lots to try and balance this load out, and I think this is their next step. Technically, it's worse than the 262. It's, well, at least real life wise, but in game, that raw power that it's got, that acceleration and the ability to climb, it's a scary thing in the hands of someone who knows how to fly it. And in all those categories that it's great in, it vastly outdoes the 262. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Added the AIM 7s to the F4C, E, and EJ, Phantom FGR2, the F104, the R39 to the MiG-21F. Oh, sorry. Not on the dev server, so no one actually got to see that done, but I'm sure they will be there at release. The MiG-21 SMT got R530. So the R3Rs would have also been added to the MiG-21. The R530 to the Mirage 3C. Other modifications have been lowered. So this is a variation of the or similar to the one that we've already got in game, the big missile that sits underneath the Mirage, the long range one. But this has the radar locking capability on it, similar to the AIM-7s and the R3R. Added mines to the BTD, PBM, PBY, PV2D, SP2C1C, SP2U, SP3D3, and the OS2U. So now as a bomb loadout, instead of carrying bombs, you can drop mines. This is a combination of magnetic mines and contact fuse mines. Weren't really able to test them out on the dev server. A lot of these planes actually still didn't have them, even though the dev blog said the temporary patch release notes said that they had it. They actually didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see how these perform and whether it actually be any use. They've only got about a 3-minute fuse on them, and then they detonate. So you need to get into a position, drop those mines, which is potentially safer and more reliable than using a torpedo or bombs, but we'll have to see how useful they really are. Panzer III L and M are now in a folder. I'll get to that later. New game settings for consoles, etc. The 40mm 2-pound APHE Tier 4 to Tier 2, 40mm 2-pounder APBC. Okay, so this is, I think, on ships for the anti-aircraft, for the AA guns. I believe the ammunition types that you unlock on those has just been shifted around. F104G stat cards been fixed. F104A stat cards, F104S, HE3. So there's multiple adjustments here. These appear to just be stat card fixes, so the actual vehicles should perform the same. Another stat card fix. More stat card fixes on some ships. Some new titles. Cavalier of the Order of Liberation, the Cavalier of the Order of the Merit of France. These are interesting here. So what we're looking at here, what appears to be maybe a weapon selection system. So you can, I'm speculating, choosing between what weapon type you currently want to be utilizing. Now that you're looking at vehicles that have so many different types of weapons or multiple different types of missiles, and for a while, combination of bombs and missiles as well, you want to be able to pick which ones you use in the right situation. Example, right now the Mirage 3, if you carry the long-range missile and the 2 magics, you have to fire the long-range missile first. If this is what I think it is, it means you now may be able to select, do I want to fire the Mirage, the magics first, or do I want to fire the long-range one now? And with the new vehicles coming, you've got Phantoms flying around with 4 AIM-9s and 4 Sparrows, and it might make it a lot easier to pick which one you want to be using right now. Depending on how they do it, it may simplify which keys you need to have bound as well, rather than having to find a key binding for every single type of weapon system. Now you can just cycle through them using one key and then use another key to utilize that weapon system. I'm not sure what this means. There will be no leaderboard progress on this vehicle. I don't know what that means, to be honest with you. Here, if I'm reading this right and making my judgment correctly, I think potentially they may be adding the ability to select how many bombs are dropped in a drop by series button press. So right now, especially using something like the Phantoms, when you use the ballistics computer to drop your bombs for the drop bomb assist function, if you hold down the drop series button, it'll just drop all your bombs. Otherwise, if you use the single press bomb drop, it'll only drop a pair. Neither of those are practical for destroying a base, because you're either not dropping enough, only dropping half the bombs you need to destroy the base, meaning you need to do another pass, or you are now dropping all your bombs and half of them have gone to waste. So something like this would be very useful and something I had kind of wanted for a while. DLSS, from what a quick Google search on DLSS, I'm getting references to the RTX graphics cards, a new function on those. So this may just be a new addition to settings for War Thunder, which is always nice. New annoying pulsing red line in the top of the screen. Follow the path, follow the specified path. I'm assuming this is for missions, because I don't know where else this is useful. New hints. I'm not sure what these are in regards to. We're going to have to wait and see. Again, another section here, a HUD, heads up display guns, head up display machine guns, cannons, additional guns, selection on. So to me, this verifies my earlier thoughts that this might be an ability to select which weapon system you've got. And this here is just talking about the ability to recognize that and be showing that that's what you currently have selected. Okay, here we've got a whole bunch of new mines. You can see it's broken up into nations. You've got Germany, Italy, Japan, USSR. They've got a lot. The US and the UK. Just because it's got 3 here does not mean that's 3 aircraft. That might be 1 aircraft with 3 varieties of mines that it can drop. I'm not saying that there isn't 3 aircraft. I'm just saying, just be aware that just because the USSR here has a ton of them doesn't mean that it's going to have, if there's 10 here, it's not going to have 10 aircraft that can do it. This might be spread out over 2 or 3 aircraft. So we'll just have to wait and see how many vehicles actually get to use these new mines. And if you see on here, take some time to have a look at this if it's interesting to you. You'll see there's magnetic mines, and then there's more contacts and stuff like that. So, and laid magnetics and stuff like that. So it's all very different. APFSDS and long APFSDS, they've had some shatter penetration sort of adjustments. Max repair times have been adjusted on some vehicles. Added lots of new funnel AA and AA turret damage models. Radar error speed, so this would be something to do with the new weapon systems, maybe. New flight model constants. So the flight model is made up of a bunch of different stats that characterize different performance factors of the vehicle. So here it looks like they've added new aspects to the flight model. So it's going to be interesting to see what that actually does and what that's going to do to your favorite planes. Sound changes. They've adjusted the bullet pass by sound. So I imagine here you're not going to hear bullets flying past a tank that's 3 kilometers away from you anymore, like you currently can. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. New sound effects. Turret falling. So when the turret gets blown off your tank, it now makes a sound when it hits the ground. T80B, cumulative armor quality. There's been an adjustment here to me, that looks like a negative adjustment, but I really have no idea, so I'm just speculating. Ship wood now doesn't create secondary shatters. RDX, which is an explosive compound, has been buffed. I think RDX is British, but I could be wrong. So just have a look on your main bomb loads, and you'll see on there it says the explosive type. So it's not the TNT. They don't all use TNT. That's just an equivalent used as a way of scaling the damage. But if you have a look, you'll actually see that they use. Some of them might use TNT. Some might use RDX. There's quite a few out there, so just check that out. I do believe RDX is what the British use. Maybe the Americans do. A4B, it's had a whole bunch of buffs. Aileron effective speed. It's gained 200 kilometers for its effective ailerons, so that's quite nice. Power loss has been buffed. Aileron sensitivity, angle, aileron areas, etc. This thing has got a lot of buff, so it's going to be interesting to see what it flies like. I was unaware of these changes on the dev server, so unfortunately I didn't take it out. If I get another chance, I will. B6N has lost the ability to open the cockpit. BF110 moment of inertia has been buffed. 110 F1 and G2 wing fuselage areas have been nerfed. I'm not sure what that means. Whether that's an like a physical model, like an armor model kind of thing, or a hitbox, or whether there's actually been some other kind of changes or a flight model difference on that. I just don't know. Engine tapes radial to inline on the BV238, the A4B, Etendard, F4s, F11A, F35H2, F104 all, Lightning, Super Mystia, B18, J29, J35D, T18, SU7B, and all the Swifts have now had adjustments to their mouse aim. Precise. I don't know what this means. I have no idea. Maybe someone can comment on that if they understand the flight modeling a bit better. The F4U-A max speed near the ground has been buffed. No longer has wing fold control. I don't think I didn't realize any of the aircraft in the game currently had control over it. I realized they model it in. A lot of, especially like the British, when the Fleet Air Arm was added, all those models were shown with their folding wing, but I've never been able to use it, so I'm not sure why that is currently there. Some more buffs to the F4UCD. AU1 now has arrestor control. Flaps are now destroyed at 470 kilometers an hour instead of 382. This is always nice for an aircraft. It allows you to slow down the aircraft or control your landing a lot easier, a lot sooner, especially if it gets too close to the stall speed in the lower speeds. F104s have lost combat flaps. This one, I don't know what this is going to mean for the actual aircraft. Obviously know what it means that it's lost its combat flaps. This puts it in the same experience now as flying a Spitfire, where you only have landing flaps. Depending on the strength of the 104's flaps, and I haven't flown it enough to be able to give any sort of advice on it, but you may still be able to use your landing flaps to turn at certain speeds depending on their rip. But I personally, if I've got an aircraft that can't use its combat flaps in combat, I will still use flaps, but I just toggle them on and off constantly. That means they don't deploy to the point where they snap off, but you still get a bit of a performance buff in your turning. Focke-Wulf 190s. They've had a speed buff, but they've had a control nerf. And that's, as you can see here, you can freeze this and have a look if you want, but it seems to be roughly all the Fokker Wolves have had the same sort of combination of buffs and nerfs. The HE100D has had rudder nerfed, elevator buffed. There's HE111s here. They've had some buffs and nerfs to their flight models. The J1N1 aileron's been buffed. Max speed has been nerfed at sea level or near the ground. J29 A and B no longer has controllable afterburner. The Seahawk, it's had its elevator speed improved. So the Seahawk's elevator control will now be usable at a higher speed, which is always nice. This sensitivity has been nerfed and loses less speed in a spin. I don't know how many people deliberately spin a plane. I do see it get done, but I'm not sure how important this is to you as most players, because it doesn't mean much to me. Sunderland, max speed near the ground has been buffed for you people who love the big planes. VB1002 and the VB10C1 elevator effective speed have been buffed. This tends to be quite a lot of aircraft have had their elevators controls buffed, which is nice. And it's gotten faster at ground level. AH1Z received TOW 2s. The AH1Z, the AH64, all except for the Japanese, added AN AVR2 sensors. I think those are radar or laser warning systems, which just go to the radar warning systems that they already have. So it's just an adjustment, I believe. I could be wrong. That's what I've read. Beaufighter, all. So all the Beaufighters now have Australian crews instead of British crewmen. So that's like a 25% buff in performance. Not really, but for reals. F-84B added a G-meter to the cockpit. This will be good for people in sim, I suspect. CH-34A, H-34 fire extinguish fires more quickly. IL-28's ammo counter in the cockpit has been fixed. JU-188A2 gunner turrets limits changed. The KA-50, KA-52, MI-28 added the L-140 sensor. And if you look down here further, the Tiger HD, the Tiger HAP, the Tiger UH, basically all the helicopters seem to have received new sensors, and I'm being told that they are some kind of warning system to let you know that you're being lasered or focused. The CM11, the M60s, the T28 have all had their zoom buffed. It says slightly, so it's not a very specific number. IS-2 hull front and sides have gone from 120 millimeters down to 100 millimeters, and the side of the gun mask has gone from 100 millimeters to 30 millimeters. The gun mask, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what that reference in particular means. I don't use that term, so maybe someone will be able to answer that in the questions, in the responses below in the chat. This here, I suspect, is probably not necessarily a nerf as it looks, but the IS-2 has gotten volumetric armor this patch, I believe, so this may actually calculate to roughly the same overall performance. Many vehicles received a new 5mm thick plate on their turrets. Again, and not a very specific bit of information. The M113A2 received a new ammo. M18's received a new 12mm thick plate and had its horsepower nerfed. So this is going to upset a lot of people. It's a pretty big nerf too. So it's 70mm or so of 70 horsepower. All of the US and their Lend-Lease capture counterpart vertical stabilized guns, so your Shermans, their stabilized effective speed has increased from 16 to 24 kilometers an hour. This is really nice. This is really, really nice. Now, what it means, for anyone who doesn't understand, is at 16 kilometers an hour and past that, the stabilizer would become ineffective. It would start bouncing around like it didn't have one. But that now won't happen until 24 kilometers an hour. So that is actually quite a nice little buff. It means you're going to be able to jump around a corner at a little bit higher speed and surprise that tank and still be stabilized. If you use the preset controls for auto drive forward and back, then instead of using there's 3 speeds for it, I think you may possibly be able to sit on the second speed now instead of the first speed and still be stabilized. M24, M5A1, M19 horsepower nerf. So I'm just going to slightly scroll through here because there's a whole bunch of American vehicles that have been nerfed in horsepower. I don't know why there is so many. I don't know how they could have been so wrong to start with. There's no direct references, so I'm wondering whether it's some kind of a difference in, like, a recognitions for a difference in how those stats are measured between each country. Maybe they're a little bit different, tested different somehow, and they've now been scaled accordingly. But we'll have to wait and see how they go. And M42 received new ammo damage models too. T26, the PVRBV 551 turns better. The ZTZ59 turret back 65mm has gone to 60mm. The turret front has gone up to 220 from 200. The ZTZ59D1, the turret back has lost another 5mm as well. ZBD86 has received 125mm ATGMs, received autoloader for the 73mm 2A28 cannon. Gun depression has changed from -4.5 to -4. Gun elevation has increased to 31. Chiha or Chito Late has received a 7.7 Type 97 machine gun operated by the commander, so it's a roof-mounted machine gun. The ZTZ96A effective armor thickness has been limited to 600mm. So I believe that means it's a nerf. I'm not sure what it currently sits at, but that's what it sounds like. AMX 13. So we've got ejection animations being added to a few vehicles. Slight default zoom increase. That's pretty nice. Can no longer cruise with 10 kilometers an hour. I'm not really sure what that means. I'm assuming it means they've made some adjustment to what the auto cruise speed is. APFSDS is now tier 3 on the AMX 32 and the AMX 40. And the AMX 40 now has ESS. Crusader Mark II removed 3 20mm thick plates. This, for me personally, is a little bit upsetting. I love the Crusader Mark II, but I'm even not sure what these 3 20mm thick plates are. So it may not actually mean much at all to the Crusader. Because, strangely enough, for a vehicle with no armor, it does bounce a lot of shots. Bakelite Panzer 57 received the automatic sight distance correction for sim. That's nice. Oswin 2, the MG can now actually be moved around. KPZ XM803, the XM1, elevation speed 25 degrees per second to 20 degrees per second. The Leopard 2A5, 2A5 STRV121, elevation speeds. Now this is a big hit. Elevation speeds on these vehicles they've gone to half. They're now 20 degrees per second gun elevation. And trust me, that's a big deal. After playing the Chieftain for so long with its 11 degrees, I think it was, and just recently had it buffed, this is a big hit. And the armor has been nerfed against kinetic energy. Now I don't know what armor that is, whether it's all armor or some armor. It's unspecific, so we'll have to see. And just as it says nerfed, it could just be a few millimeters, or it could be a few 100 millimeters. We'll just have to wait and see. No point stressing about something until we actually see what it's like. Winterketten and AAMG added to some German tanks, as noted in the official changelog. So these are tracks. You saw some vehicles got them in the previous patch. They're an upgraded track, so they're wider, so they handle better in snow and sand conditions. And that's an unlock on the vehicle. Some vehicles will lose side tracks because the tracks are too wide. So the actual those skirts on the side of your vehicle will disappear. And a lot of tanks in the German tree got AA guns on the roof. So your Tigers, I think some Panthers, and they got them as well. So there's a lot of vehicles anyway, Panzer 3s and 4s. And it's been a long time the German player base has been asking for that. Tiger tanks received turret volumetric armor, which is nice for Tigers. A volumetric armor is relatively good at buffing the vehicle. It does make the armor perform a lot better, and combine that with the new ballistic volumetric armor for the projectiles. This may turn out to make the Tiger very, very, very nice. A Panzer 3B and Sturm Mill received smoke grenades. The Brumba has received a horsepower buff and has higher revs. Tam's engine sounds have changed. M24 Panther. Oh, okay. So I think the Tam currently has the M24 engine sound, but now it's going to have a Panther engine sound. I'm guessing that's what that means. Ariete all STRV 122 elevation speeds. Okay. I think we covered that one earlier, but the Arietes have also got the 20 degrees per second nerf as well. Arietes, Centauros have received laser warning radar, laser warning somethings modifications, so that they can tell now when they're being targeted with a laser system by helicopters, etc. Ultimately, I don't know what this is actually going to add to the game, to your gameplay. If you're engaging someone and you get told that someone's shooting a missile at you, really does it make that big a difference? Quite often you're just going to be stuck in the open and you're dead anyway. But anything is better than nothing, I suppose. RW40 all, the gun mask effective thickness has been capped at 100 millimeters. Again, I'm not sure what they're talking about as gun mask, whether that's just part of the damage model mechanics or whether it's the mantlet or something. I don't know what they're referring to in that particular reference. Alright, so that was a lot to get through. That is the first part of 3 parts. And we will have a look at part 2 in the next video. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe.